I want to say like thank you for like stopping by. Like you really like said a lot of great things, and I just want to ask about, you know, you talk a lot about color when it comes to your cinematography work, and I'm just wondering, like, do certain colors, or especially like the ones that you see in like your dreams and stuff, like do they represent a very specific feeling or point in time in your life?
Man, that's an incredible question. Yeah, I mean, yeah, every color represents, you know. Um, oh man, I can't even. Yeah, I mean, some of them are so literal, it's embarrassing. You know what I mean? Some of them are deeply can't. It's hard to explain. You know, you will never see me in a red hat, a red shoe, a red sock, a red scarf. You will never. Oh, I wear a red hat though, actually sometimes. But it's red is not a color that like really speaks to me outside of like it really does like it's as simple as like, for instance, in something like Selma, it's the cross between the red and the Confederate flag and blood. You know what I mean? Like it's a nightmare for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. That's a nightmare for me, especially when somebody tells you what the thing represents or is supposed to represent. And you're at that age, you're like, well, if that's what it represents, why am I seeing it every day? You know what I mean? Like that color is, there's a crimson, and there's a crimson part of it too that really uh, is a nightmare for me. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you all the, you know what I mean? Like literally all the bodies we had to step over to get to where I am now. You're like literally, you know what I mean? Not because I wanted his or her job. It was like, no, before I even got to understanding what this whole thing was about, we stepped over at Howard, in Chicago, in Louisville. We stepped over many cats that were more talented, more genius, more brilliant than us. You know what I mean? But they didn't make it. You know what I mean? And yeah, that would be like one color. I mean, yellow, man. Yellow for me is like I grew up around a. You see it in The Most Violent Year. But like yellow for me is I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, next to a oil refinement plant. And like my sisters and I, man, my three sisters and I, man, we have like chronic sinus issues. And it's like, it's crazy when you become an older person, you're like, why do I have these sinus issues? And then finally one day you're all sitting down at dinner and you're like, you remember that, excuse my language, you remember that yellow shit that was in the air when we grew up in Louisville? It's like, it must have been that. It was like that yellow, like, and it's like this little small town that we grew up in was not so small, but like that yellow that's in Most Violent Year, that's kind of like like washes the film, was like my rendition of like 1980s New York, dirty, not clean. Like I couldn't express, it couldn't be expressed in the lighting, it couldn't be expressed in the design of the garbage or the production design. It had to be expressed in the color. Like you had to see it wash the film. And it just reminds me of like many mornings in Kentucky, waking up and like stepping out of the house, and the first thing that hits your face is like the sting of oil, the smell of the oil, and that nasty yellow cloud that would just be sitting over the park and in the trees. And yeah, so like that's a color that's very deep, that's personal, you know, that really comes from, it's very experiential for me, you know.